All right, so it's 2021, and for my first video of the year, I've decided to start talking about the movies I have never seen before that are sitting on my unwatched shelf. I decided January I would try to work through these movies and get them off that shelf by having actually watched them. So I figured I'd do these videos again, where I'd go live and talk to you people about the movies I have watched, or anyone who wants this information, I guess, since this will be eventually archived. So let's just jump straight in. So I've got 10 movies I've watched since Friday, which would be January 1st. So I'm going to do this once a week again, probably on Mondays. So although I'm going to watch one of more movie that I haven't watched yet tonight yet, I won't talk about that one because I will not have watched it. So let's get started with the first movie I'd never seen before. I watched in 2021, the Banana Splits movie. This is based on the Hanna-Barbera property of the Banana Splits, one of their lesser-known properties. I had heard of the Banana Splits, but I wasn't super familiar with them. This is a dark tone, as it is a horror film, where the Banana Splits are animatronic robots, and they start killing people. Hanna-Barbera. Yep. So, honestly, I like Hanna-Barbera's dark stuff. I've read some of their comics that go a little darker with their characters, and I like that. This is trash. This movie bad. And it's not even, like, boring bad. It's just bad. Like, the acting is bad. The kills are bad. It's not really scary. It's not a good horror film. It's nothing. It's just bad. Basically, the Banana Splits are a TV show. They're animatronics, and their prime objective is the show must go on. They find out they are being canceled, so they start kidnapping children who are in their audience and murdering the adults so they can do their show forever and ever and ever and never watch this movie. I was torn for so long about if I should just up and sell this thing or if I was actually going to watch it, hence why it probably started all of this. I should have just up and sold it. It's an hour and a half you don't need to spend. So don't watch it. Banana Splits movie. Is it better than my opinion of All About Eve? Yes, because All About Eve is the worst thing I've watched in probably about 5 years, but it's not that far off. It's still pretty bad, though. Don't watch it. Next up, I watched The Man from U.N.C.L.E. This is, based on the TV show of the same name, directed by Guy Ritchie. You got Henry Cavill, Armie Hammer, Hugh Grant's in it. This was a pretty enjoyable movie. I liked it. It's definitely got that modern, like, if you like Guy Ritchie's Sherlock Holmes films, which I'm not a huge fan of, but they're not bad, and how they kind of have the look of the Sherlock Holmes era mixed in, but it still feels very modern. It does the same thing with the Cold War, which isn't bad. I mean, Henry Cavill and Armie Hammer are great in this movie. It's very well paced, very well acted, and it serves as an origin to the U.N.C.L.E. group. So definitely check it out. This one I recommend. This is one I can see myself watching again, because it was a fairly interesting movie. Basically, they're trying to stop a group of people from selling a nuclear warhead. It's more complex than that, but that's the basic synopsis. It's a pretty decent movie, so if you haven't checked out The Man from U.N.C.L.E., give it a try. It's not that bad. All right, next, I'm just going to talk about these as a pair because I watched a movie and its sequel. We have The Collector and The Collection. This is a pair of movies I got turned on to by What Culture Horror. They made a bunch of their lists of like top 10 best horror films, so I decided to check them out. Now, because I checked out both of them, I liked this movie. This was a fun movie. This one's also pretty good, but let's talk about The Collector. Basically, it's about a dude who collects people. He breaks into people's houses, and he kills everyone except one person who he takes to be part of his collection, where either they are accepted into the collection, murdered, or used as bait. It's all his call. This obviously is him doing that, and a dude is trying to rob the house at the same time. He doesn't realize what's going on until he's already broken in and been locked inside. So now you have the Collector trying to torture and murder this family, while this robber is actually trying to prevent that. It's a very interesting movie. My biggest criticism and question I want to know is how much time, because the thief actually works as a handyman because the house is being remodeled. And so he works for this family. So he was there earlier in the day. He was there, left, and then came back to rob it at night. And at some point in between those two moments, the Collector shows up. Now, you also find out this family is getting ready to take a vacation. So the guy gets to the house at about 11 p.m. to start robbing it because he has an hour to get the thing he's stealing, to get the money, to pay off his wife's debt. It's a little convoluted, and it makes no sense why you'd go at 11 when you have to have this midnight deadline. Why wouldn't you just go earlier if you know the family's leaving? But the Collector sets up booby traps all over the house. So if somebody actually escapes and gets out of his trap, out of his torture, he can catch them somewhere else. There's a room full of bear traps. He put knives hanging from the chandelier that's rigged to fall. He's got tripwires. I want to know how long he has had this family captured to set all that crap up, because it is very intricate. It's very interesting. It's very cool. I liked The Collector. I thought it was a really good movie. It's not super gory. It has its gory moments, but it's not about the gore. It's not like, oh, this is a torture porn film. This is more about the character, the main character, the robber, who is trying to help this family not only escape, but find their daughter, who has gone into hiding because she doesn't want to be taken by the Collector. In the end of the movie, our main character, our robber, is actually the person the Collector takes, throws him in a trunk, and is the guy who's added to the collection. That brings us up to The Collection. It is the sequel to The Collector. It's pretty good. It's not as good as the original, but it's still pretty good. This one, obviously, it's a sequel, so you have to go into a new depth, and things have to get bigger. So it starts off with a girl and some friends going to a rave. Nobody knows who set up this rave, and you find out it's the Collector. The Collector has set up this rave. And the girl eventually finds herself in a room after seeing her boyfriend making out with another girl, where there is the suitcase. Inside the suitcase is our thief from the first movie, who is now bait. It ends up triggering this huge trap. It is actually really cool. It's kind of like a combine, comes down from the ceiling and just starts mowing basically everyone to death. And there's some other traps throughout it. Our robber escapes. The girl is taken to the collection, and the rest of the movie is about a group of basically mercenaries taking our robber, who has survived and knows where the Collector keeps people, or has an idea, because he was actually, as he was being driven there, making marks on his arm with something sharp that he could then use to retrace from where he was taken to where he was taken to. It's actually really clever. And I don't think I know anyone who would actually think of that in that scenario. Anyways, he leads them to an abandoned hotel where, again, you have booby traps everywhere. You have the people who have been taken, who have been killed, who are kind of brainwashed, almost Stockholm Syndrome, into believing what the Collector has told them, as they're trying to save the girl who was taken because her family's rich. I like it. It's not bad. It's not as good as the first one, but it's still a pretty good sequel. It's a good follow-up, and it's definitely worth checking out if you like a good horror film, or if you've seen the original and you want to check out the sequel. All right, next up I have Drinking Buddies. This movie is very boring. It has a great cast. Olivia Wilde, Jake Johnson, Anna Kendrick, Ron Livingston. I can't think of the actor's name, but there's another really good actor. He's in We're the Millers. He's the main guy in We're the Millers. And I'm going to stop trying to think of his name, and it'll just come to me later. But anyways, it's a great cast. It's just it's an improvised movie. So they had an outline of what was supposed to happen, and then the actors just improvised it, which is fine, except it's super boring, and it feels like nothing happens. I could read the synopsis, and I could give a synopsis. Both would be wrong, because the synopsis makes it sound like you have Jake Johnson and Olivia Wilde, and they work together in a brewery, and they flirt, and they have sexual chemistry, but they're both dating, Olivia Wilde's dating Ron Livingston, and Jake Johnson is dating Anna Kendrick. So they can't be together, but you think they would, but they don't. The one of them breaks up with it's boring. Literally, my roommate walked through the door as I had like 10 minutes left of this movie, which didn't feel like the last 10 minutes of a movie, as nothing had happened. There really wasn't a climax to say that, oh, we're almost done. And I just started having a conversation with him and just kind of paying attention to what's going on because I was so bored. Now, is Drinking Buddies worse than the Banana Splits movie? No, this is the worst thing I watched over the weekend. This is the second worst thing I've watched. So just to give you a note, boring and well acted is still better than poorly acted and slowly paced. Just so we're aware, there's a level system here. All right, so that covered up one day. I also went and saw Monster Hunters in theaters, but that wasn't from this shelf, so I'm not going to go into a review about it. I'll just say it would have fallen into the category with these instead of the category with these. All right, moving on to the next set. I have Strange Brew, the Doug and Bob and Doug McKenzie movie, starring Dave Thompson and Rick Moranis. It is a comedy from SCTV, a sketch comedy show from Canada, way back in the day, about the same time as the original Saturday Night Live. A lot of those guys, John Candy, Harold Ramis, Joe Flattery, would go on to have bigger careers as well, like the original cast of Saturday Night Live. Go figure. It's a take on Hamlet, which I caught on to real quick and was really weirded out by, just because we didn't need. It was a choice. They made a choice to have elements of Hamlet recreated in this movie. Weird choice. Basically, you have a brewery. The owner of the brewery is killed. His brother marries his wife and takes over. Hamlet. It's called Elsinore Brewing. Hamlet. And now the actual person who should have taken over the brewery, which is the owner's daughter, is now in a struggle of both their own mental capacity and with the uncle and Hamlet. And then you have Bob and Doug who get a job there because they like beer. And there's something about mind control agencies. It's not bad. I get why some people would love this humor. It wasn't bad. I didn't dislike this movie. It's one I can say I've watched it, and that's good. That's all I need. That's all I need to say is that I've watched it. And now I know it's not bad. If you like a good comedy, this isn't a bad comedy. It's definitely got some weird elements to it. The movie opens with Bob and Doug at a movie that they did, but it's not this movie. And they end up starting a riot because of how bad their movie is, and then the movie starts. So it's got some weird elements to it. And the whole Hamlet thing. That's like, why? Why? Why do we need to do this with Hamlet? But they did it. It's right here. Strange Brew. It's not bad. It's not bad. It's one I can honestly say I'm not going to have the ambition to watch again or the want to watch it again. All right. Next up, we have Dirty Harry. This is part of a box set. It's all 5 Dirty Harry movies. Magnum Force, The Enforcer, Sudden Something, and Deadpool are the other movies. I am going to watch them all. Actually, Magnum Force is what I'm going to watch when I'm done with this live stream. I'm going to watch Magnum Force because I really like Dirty Harry. I really liked this movie. It was very compelling and gripping, and anytime I started to go, man, this is a little slow, it got compelling and gripping again. Clint Eastwood is great in this movie. It's one of those movies everyone kind of knows the one quote about, his Magnum revolver, which he actually says twice. He says it once in the beginning of the movie and once at the end of the movie, but you only ever see the clip of the beginning of the movie. From that time he says it. You never see the one at the end. But yeah, it's a really fun movie. You have a killer on the loose in San Francisco calling himself Scorpio. He threatens to kill one person a day in San Francisco until he is paid $1 million. Detective Harry Callahan. I couldn't remember his last name. I just kept wanting to call him Dirty Harry. But Dirty Harry is the detective or inspector, because in San Francisco they're not detectives, they're inspectors, is the inspector assigned to the case, and it's about, him trying to solve this case, and victims' rights versus criminals' rights is actually rolled in there too, which is really interesting because at one point the guy kills a girl by shoving her in a well and holding the city ransom for $2 million. The girl's actually already dead, and the way Dirty Harry brings him in to find out where the girl is, because he still thinks she's alive, gets the dude released, which sets up the climax of the movie. So it's that question of, the girl was trapped in a well. She might have been alive, and his methods, although extreme at the time, were done not out of hatred for the criminal, not out of a want to harm the criminal, but out of a want to save the hostage, who would have died by the time frame, because the dude said she had enough air to last her until 3 a.m., and it's like 1:30 when he catches her, so they've got an hour and a half, and if you go through everything, it would have taken longer than an hour and a half. So it's one of those questions of whose rights are bigger. I mean, this was a movie made in the early 70s. I liked it. I liked Dirty Harry. Like I said, I'm going to watch Magnum Force tonight. I'll probably watch The Enforcer, the Deadpool, and the fourth movie yet this week, because I was really gripped by it, and I want to see what else they did with the character. All right, next up, I have Adaptation. This is one I'm kind of surprised. I've never seen before just because of how weird it is. It is a movie based on the book The Orchid Thief, which is about flowers. Just about flowers. No plot, just about flowers and people who try to get the flowers. Not like a plot about people trying to get the flowers. It's an in-depth look at a single guy who is trying to find a flower so he can grow it and cultivate it and find out more about it. Adaptation. It's a movie about a flower. Actually, it's not bad. The way Charlie Kaufman, the writer of the movie, decided to tackle it was by just writing about his own struggle trying to adapt the movie. Because he was trying to adapt the book, but he couldn't figure it out. He couldn't figure out how to adapt this book that really has no plot, some interesting characters, but no plot, into a movie. So that's just what he turned it into. He turned it into his struggle. He added in a fictional twin brother called Donald Kaufman, and he just wrote his own struggles and his own dealings, while also dramatizing the author of The Orchid Thief and the guy she wrote about, who are played by Meryl Streep and Chris Cooper in this movie. So it's really interesting. It's really weird, but it's a lot of fun. Like, my favorite part is that the screenplay is listed by Charles Kaufman and Donald Kaufman. So they really went into the twin thing and made sure that that part played out through through any credits or anything. That Donald Kaufman, who's fictional, helped write this screenplay. It's pretty good. It's a weird movie. I liked it. It's another one. I liked it. I can't imagine I'd want to sit down and watch it again. But I did enjoy it. I did enjoy the time I spent with it. And it's definitely, if you've never checked it out, definitely check it out. But be ready just for this really weird journey, because at the end of the day, outside of the Donald Kaufman character, all the rest of the characters in this movie are real people. At least the starring, like the main characters, are all real people who all signed off. Even when you find out like the dramatic changes that were made to these characters, they all signed off on it to be seen. And I know the author of The Orchid Thief, Susan Orlean, who wrote The Orchid Thief, was a little hesitant to sign off because of the way this movie shows her. But, Meryl Streep and Chris Cooper both won awards. Nicolas Cage got nominated for an award. Charles Kaufman was nominated for Best Screenplay, along with his fictional brother Donald. Yep, he got nominated. The fictional character got nominated. It's not bad. It's not bad. It's definitely one of Nicolas Cage's better films that isn't like a ridiculous action movie like Con Air, Face Off, Snake Eyes. It's one of his better movies that's just him acting, and he's really acting. Nicolas Cage is a good actor. or Nicolas Cage just acts good in good movies or acts crazy in bad movies. It's that question: is he a good actor who does bad movies or a bad actor who does good movies? It's that question. This is a good Nicolas Cage movie, however, regardless of your answer to that question. All right, that brings me to the final two movies for this Unwatched Shelf review, and that is, and I'm sorry I don't have the case for both of them. I just didn't have time to dig out the case for the other one. 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later. I did watch both of them back-to-back yesterday. And honestly, so I tried watching 28 Days Later back in 2003, probably. 2002, 2003, right when it came out. Right when it came out on DVD and video, I rented a copy of it. And I tried watching it. And I fell asleep during the opening scene where the activists are trying to get the monkeys out of the lab. I fell asleep. I woke up. I didn't know how much movie I had missed. Now I know it was like 5 minutes of no dialogue. It's just the main character waking up in a hospital bed. I don't know if this started first or The Walking Dead came out first, but it's got The Walking Dead opening where the dude wakes up from a coma and shit has happened. Anyways, so basically I had woken up in the next dialogue scene, but I didn't know how much movie I had missed or what I had missed. And because I had fallen asleep, I just turned it off. So I decided to rewatch it. And 2002, 2003, Martin, so almost 20 years ago, 18 years ago, Martin was an idiot because this movie is really good. It is a great kind of zombie movie. Basically, rage virus is released in England. It ravages the population. It makes you insane and rageful. You just start attacking each other. Basically, you attack anyone that is not full of rage like you, and either you infect them or you kill them. And an infection can happen basically if any bodily fluid from the rage victim gets into you. So if you swallow blood, if it gets into your eye, if you get bitten through saliva, all of it causes infection, which is honestly how I've always wanted to write a zombie movie myself. So I liked that. It's just about a group of survivors who are trying to make it to safety and then finding out, safety's not safe either. So it's a very basic zombie plot, but it's very well done. It was followed up by 28 Weeks Later, which basically says that because England, it was on the island that England inhabits, it never made it off the mainland. It was quarantined. So, basically the rest of the world steps in because the rage-infected people die of starvation because they don't know any better to eat because they're just so rageful and they just want to attack people who aren't infected. They don't eat, and eventually they die off. So England is starting to reopen, get cleaned up, and allowing people in, where you find out that there is a very specific genetic disorder that allows someone to basically be immune to the virus. They still carry it, they still have it in their saliva, their blood, but they do not suffer the rage that everyone else does. They find this person who actually was left to die by her husband because he just chickened out and left her. So he finds her, has a romantic kiss as everyone is realizing she is highly contagious. He sneaks in. They don't let him in. He sneaks in. He has this romantic kiss, not knowing she's highly infective. And the virus outbreak begins anew. And so again, about a group of survivors trying to get out. It stars Jeremy Renner as one of the survivors. He does a great job in this movie. Cillian Murphy stars in 28 Days Later. They're both pretty good movies. Again, much like with The Collector and The Collection, the first one is slightly better than the second one. But they're both really good movies and good zombie films. I'm glad I sat down and finally watched them. It was definitely worth it. All right, so those are the movies for my Unwatched shelf I have watched so far of 2021. Obviously, there'll be more of these videos, most likely done on Mondays, where I'll cover what I watch in the next week, which is going to be a lot of Dirty Harry, probably. There'll be some other stuff thrown in there when I have time. But yeah, so we'll see. I've got about 30-ish movies left to get through, including some great stuff I'm really looking forward to. Hopefully it'll be good. I just, Just got to accept that I need to sit down and watch them. Some stuff I hope will be good because it's supposed to be good. Some stuff I'm hoping is going to be good in the bad sense. It's Philadelphia, starring Tom Hanks and Denzel Washington, which hopefully is good. It's supposed to be a good movie, a good drama. And on the other spectrum, I have stuff like Sharkensaw. I think it's Sharkensaw Prison Massacre. Yeah, that's probably funny bad. Hopefully that's funny bad. So they range the spectrum, and we'll see what we get there. I've also got stuff like the original Magnificent Seven back there. The Beatles, a hard day's night. So I've got some interesting stuff that I still have to sit down and watch, and let you know what it's about. So, hope you liked this video. Don't forget, Wednesday, I dropped my first January video talking about the Royal Rumble, where you'll see me with more beard and more hair because I shot it before I got my hair cut and I trimmed my beard. So, you get to see that distinction if you watch this and then you watch that. So, check that out. Otherwise, I will see you next time. I'm Martin Prevost. This is Rank the Movies. Like this video. Subscribe if you somehow stumbled upon this video when it's archived and you go, oh, I like what this guy says, and this is the first thing you've watched. I pity you. Subscribe, like, comment if you've got something you want to say about any of the movies I've watched. If you think, if you've seen the Banana Splits movie and think it is the greatest film you've ever seen, ever, please let me know why so I can call you an idiot. Because this movie is bad. I can accept someone liking this movie. I can see why people might like this movie. This movie, no. No one likes this movie. No one's going to like this movie. This is a bad movie. Not funny, haha bad. Bad, bad. Bad movie. All right. Until next time, I'll talk to you later.